This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Jeff and Heath of Hecojeni. And the focus this episode will be old rockers with a new band. And, we'll actually have the full title here, from the Chillbumps to Hecojeni, Reuniting Through the Power of Music. We're going to explore your journey from your college band days to like now. And one cool thing, just to let the audience know, we've been on the air since 2016. We started this podcast interviewing emerging and independent or, indie artists. That's how we started. Yeah. And we love to be able to talk to musicians. I'm in my studio right now. Nice. So this is what we always love to do. We expanded to be able to talk to all kinds of creators, but musicians, I'm a keyboardist, I'm a Moog head. So this will be fun for me. I hope it will be fun for you. Maybe when you tell your story, I don't know who wants to start first. Do you want to kind of talk about your days with the Chillbumps, or how do you want to start with the
Sure, yeah, I'll start and Heath can jump in. It's the Chillbumps. Like when you get right. That's right. So we started back at Auburn University in the late 80s, early 90s. We started out as kids want to play. Started as a cover band, playing Wild Thing, Sweet Home Alabama, getting fraternity gigs, bar gigs. Then we started playing out a little bit. We played all over the South. We had an agent. We started writing songs. We put out a CD, which was cool. I mean, CD in '91 was, that was as cool as it got, I think. And then we kind of graduated, and both Heath and I tried to play in the band full time. Other guy, he's like Blues Brothers. Other guys got straight jobs. Band fizzled out. And so then we kind of each took our own path. I got into corporate America. I had a family, and I was always playing music along the way. But Heath and I wrote a lot of the songs for the Chillbumps together. Both of us wrote on our own. I think our more successful products are maybe together. And so I didn't find a lot of people that I could write with. And Heath had his own journey, and I would call him MIA often. Like, we'd be talking, and then all of a sudden his phone number doesn't work and his email doesn't work, and well, where'd he go? And that happened a couple times. I'll let Heath speak to that, but we've been back together now for almost a year, and started writing songs again, and it felt really good. And so we're on the cusp of releasing these songs. We've released a couple, trying to navigate the kind of the new way of marketing music through streams, as well as content. I think musicians today are a bit more content oriented, so we're trying to refine that aspect of it as well. So Heath, you want to talk about your journey at all?
Well, I just noticed I'm sweating on here. I kind of want to explain that. I just finished running right before this podcast. I tried to change over real quick and everything, so I'm not this sweaty, slimy guy that I look like here live.
Sorry.
But the Chillbumps was a great adventure, and yourself as a musician, it's one of the greatest things you can be a part of, in your lifetime is. And Jeff put the band together, and the Chillbumps was a mad success. We pretty much could play as many nights a week as we wanted to. Some of us were more serious about school than others, but as we all started to graduate, everybody kind of went into corporate America. I did briefly, and then 9/11 happened. I was in Ireland. I was an executive recruiter, doing some work over there, and I got homesick, and I quit corporate America. I joined the Marine Corps, and I got an age waiver, and be careful what you ask for. Nobody saw Iraq coming, and Afghanistan was on the table, but everything and then some happened. And then Jeff would talk about linking up to me, and then I would just kind of disappear. I had a little bit of a rough time after I got out in 2006. I would kind of disappear, and I'm really lucky to have buddies like Jeff, because he kind of would always be looking for me, or at least finding out I was still alive and I was okay. And long story short, he found me again a few years ago, and he's
well, tell him where you were.
So anyway, decade after the Marine Corps was rough, and I was in and out of a lot of VA stuff, and still playing guitar though. I wrote pretty cool songs in rehab in West Virginia. But anyway, long story short, I kind of came out of that mist, and I opened up a donut shop in Port Royal, South Carolina.
Nice.
And partner and I ran it for a couple of years and then sold it. And this is kind of weird. She got very angry. She was a very angry girlfriend / business partner. So I rented a boat from my neighbor. I went a half mile offshore and moored, and I was just going to do it for 2 weeks just to get away from her. She couldn't swim out to me. And I wound up staying out there for 2 years. 2 years out on the water.
In the water.
Isolation. And Jeff found me, said, I've got a studio in Greenville. Time for you to get off the water, come back to the real world, and come check out what I've got going on in Greenville. This is about 8 months ago. And I came here, and he's got this awesome piece of land by a swamp rabbit trail where I can run, and just this incredible studio set up, about a dozen guitars and basses and a sitar. He's got a sitar and congos. I mean, you name it, he's got it set up. And I was like, so anyway, I've been here for 8 months. We started writing again, and now, we're serious about it again. So it wasn't very short, long story, but wasn't short anyway. That's it in a nutshell. Thumbnail what's going on.
Well, I think that's an awesome story, because a lot of times, people are young. I remember I started one of my first bands. I was like 15.
Nice.
And everybody, that goes off to college, and then the band goes away, and then you find another band in college. You keep on trying to find people who want to do it.
Yep.
I kept at it because I just love music. I'm a synthesist. I like Moogs. I'm a synth head. I'm into sound design. I just don't play I create sounds. And so if you're into that, it's like a passion. I can sit there all day on my Moog. It doesn't matter if anybody's going to hear me. I'm just on it.
Yeah. Cool.
It's this idea that you get into the passion of doing it, and to find yourselves, the same people who were in a band when you were younger come back. That's a really interesting story to me, because I would love to bring back some of my old bands.
Yeah. Put the band back together.
I need to call some people up, like Blues Brothers again. I need to call some people up.
You bring up a great point. You're right. And I'm real comfortable with Jeff, because we've been working together, now, what is it?
30 years. That's right. Yeah.
And I used to be afraid of crowds in the Chillbumps, and we got to where we would play some pretty decent crowds, and I'd always set up next to Jeff. Was always kind of my security deposit or security blanket. But yeah, I hear you. We're really fortunate to have this connection still.
That's awesome to kind of have that drive, still be able to write songs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, they don't give themselves the permission. They get burned out in the industry, because the industry's hard. The way things have happened today. Like streaming it's a whole new world, but it's not what it was, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's got to, you make more money selling your t-shirt.
Yeah.
You do selling your record.
I thought guys, like, musicians are really just incredibly complex t-shirt salesmen.
Yeah. It's like,
it's a long ways home.
Yeah, you get 4.04 of a penny for my song. Like, you get 15, I can get $10 off my t-shirt. Like, okay.
Yep,
that's the mindset, because everybody made, like, a Napster and all this stuff happened, and music became something, well, it should be free. But what about the musician?
Yeah.
It's like the effort we put into our work, our craft, right? You guys know you've been working how long putting the new Hecojeni stuff together?
Yeah, 8 months.
Yeah, you do it because you love it. Like, if you were getting paid for the time, like corporate America, you're getting paid by the hour for the time you put in. That's not what happens.
Nope. Yep. I agree. Well, there's a flip side to that too. It's like, growing up, I was really into reading, like Rolling Stone and Musician Magazine and Spin. I got all that, and MTV News, and you would read about like these bands, like REM's a favorite band of mine, and they'd record, some demos at Athens, and then they would go to New York City and they would do the rhythm section, and then they were in Seattle doing vocal overdubs, and that all just sounded like, man, I want to do that. But those are big bands with unlimited budgets. But now you don't need, we have the time and I got a MacBook and a decent mic, and we've recorded at a lake house in Alabama. I've mixed on a plane before, and we record out at the studio or here in a kind of a vocal booth. So like all of a sudden we have an unlimited time to record. It's really weird. It's like we are Led Zeppelin from '69 with unlimited money and unlimited time to work on the next song. It's crazy.
As many takes
as you want. There's no tape spinning. There's no
you don't have to
cost,
pay for the
really.
tape running out. Yeah, you get on the reel running out, and then your session's done.
That's right.
It.
Yeah. When we recorded our CD for the Chillbumps, it took a year's worth of money, right? Save up. We're saving up, saying we can't buy beer tonight. We can't go out to eat. We're going to save up, and go into the studio. It was all over in like a week, and then we came back a week later to do mixing. So it's a really different experience in today's day and age.
Exoset Studios, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep.
Jeff went back to try to find our masters. We had it we mastered in Nashville or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Went back to try to get the originals, and the studio had burned down. So
man.
It's not like the digital age anymore. That stuff's gone.
Yep.
So they didn't have it somewhere else in a warehouse somewhere.
Well, it was weird. They convinced us they knew how to store it better than we did, because they had all this, fire protection and da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't know. I should have just taken it. So I have cassette tapes from recordings on the board, from 50 shows. Like I kept all that. Should have kept the tapes. But though with AI, you can go back. We did this with one song. You can go back and separate all the tracks, and load it into Logic, and just the same. So it's
crazy.
There's a lot of tools. Cool. I have some Akai tools that do that. They can actually pull.
Yeah. Well, the new Logic's supposed to do it too. I don't have a new enough machine. I haven't played with it, but I used an app called La La La. Have you ever heard of that app?
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. I haven't tried that because I've been using the Akai ability to pull the stems.
It's crazy.
It out. Yeah, but what I love about the tech today is like you said, you have unlimited, recording time. Like I have my bedroom studio. I've got my Moogs and my Rolands and all my gear sitting behind me. I can just go in and do whatever I want. And, and I've worked with people, in other places, I've been I worked with this lady in like Denmark, and she sent me WAV files, and we had like calls, like this, like video calls, and you were able to actually like, hey, listen to this. Do you think this works? Oh, no, let me jump on the bass and change this, change that. It's like you can do a lot of things that you would have never been able to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just fun to just have ownership. But then it's like, the problem is, the streaming world is this. I mean, you can get it out there, but then you got to figure out the SEO, you got to figure out the marketing, you got to do all this extra work. And, so are you guys like thinking of playing live or just working on the record? Like
there's a decent little scene here in Greenville. We'll play live. Our steps probably are focusing on the writing, then recording, and then I think the next step is really content and marketing, and then I think it's probably more live. I think that's probably our steps.
We've got a theory. There's a formula to the new way of putting music out. And it's a combination of a lot of things, and playing live is a key part of it. Right now, it's just Jeff and I. So, we're doing all the tracks, percussion, bass, guitar. He's playing back. We're switching instruments and everything. But to go live, it brings a different kind of nuance. I mean, do we bring in a drummer, or do I set up a 1993 Casio keyboard, tick, tick, tick in the background and do some kind of trippy stuff with it? So playing live is definitely part of that formula.
Yeah, that's one thing, because I've always been like a solo act, and I figured out with a lot of like, I'm an analog head, and I use a lot of like CV, Euro racks, running drum, like analog drum machines, and running triggers and running sequencers and multiple sequencers and pedal boards.
Yeah,
that you can kick stuff off.
Yeah,
so you can actually build stuff and build randomization into it, build abilities to like have foot pedals be able to repeat sections or change sections or do stuff. So you can end up being like a 1 person or a 2 person, 3 person without the drum.
Boss loop pedal, which is a little bit simpler than what you're talking about, but we're going to break it out today and mess with the loop a little bit. Loop
Yeah,
pedal.
there's a lot of power with a lot of the tools that are out there now that allow you to like potentially, you see these bands go out and they basically have a DJ and there's no
Right.
band.
Yeah. Almost lip syncing.
Let's say I don't go for that because I like to play. I want to play like I'm a Keith Emerson's like a hero of mine. Looking
Yeah.
at the big Model 55s and 33s he used to have with Emerson, Lake Palmer and Rick Wakeman and all those. That's my kind of. I'm a child of the '70s, so I'm looking at all those keyboard guys and I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's where my head's at. But you guys are more like it's just your style of music. How would you describe what Hecojeni is now compared to Chillbumps? What's the
Sure,
vibe?
yeah. I mean, I think it's evolved a little bit. It's a little more poppy, I think, but then I think it's a little more varied. Like Chillbumps ended up, most of the songs, sounded like 5 guys playing rock and roll and bass, drums, guitar. I think it's a little more stretched as far as genre pushing. We have a couple songs that are veer into rap, right? I'm a rap head from the 80s. We have one song veers into kind of American standards, lounge singery kind of thing. And then, I love The Cure. I think they do a lot of layering, talking about keyboards, like, you think I can't put another keyboard track? All right, here's keyboard track number 12. They just continue to layer tracks on there that sound cool and not overdone, but pretty sparse, but still, interesting. So I think some of our songs sound a little Cure-ish, a little REM-ish.
Well,
so we're finding our way. We have a varied music background. It's that's how I think of it. It's different than the Chillbumps. It's a little more varied, I think.
More eclectic, more expansive.
Yeah, I think so.
We don't limit the music to any, category. It all kind of just creates itself, and it's nothing like I'm a metal grunge head. I love just some hard guitar, and none of our music so far is coming out like that, but it's got a life of its own, and I love it. I try to write something that you would sing in the shower, something that's got a catch to it that you would remember. And Jeff comes up with all these weird minor 7th to the nth chords, and I don't know how he does it. He just picks them up, and nothing's traditional like 4/4. Everything's a little bit untraditional, and then we just kind of make it fit, which I find really interesting and new. I don't want to get stuck into a category with all the new music that's coming out today. A lot of it seems soulless.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of argue. I mean, the technology is cool, but the problem I think with the DAW, like the digital audio workstation, it's cool, but some people, the way they use it, they don't imagine, like when you think about Sgt. Pepper's, you think about, like, I was reading, I saw some documentary, and they were talking about how, the George Martin had been working with Peter Sellers on these comedy albums, and when they had these comedy albums, they had multi-tracks, and they had backward tape loops, and had all these special effects, and the Beatles actually liked those records too. And they started saying, well, what if we don't just sound like we're in Hamburg? What if we actually use the studio to take some of these effects that like Peter's using and use it with a band? Use these techniques with a band and be more like it's a sound painting. He actually talked about it being a painting. Sound. And my whole idea is like, don't just use it to try to be perfect. Use it to be expressionistic. Use it to kind of push the envelope, be like Brian Eno. Brian Eno was famous for going into a session, going on a chalkboard, and then kind of telling session musicians, like, do it like something that doesn't go together. Just putting up chords that don't even match or any kind of scale. Just saying, like, use this new pedal I found. Use this new thing. Just experiment. Just to see where you can go, right?
Yep, for sure. I also think sometimes when I listen to the older guys, and they had a constraint, right? The Beatles 4-track, eventually 8-track, but there was a constraint that with the DAW, you're talking about kind of critiquing the DAW, like You can have 128 tracks. Oh, you have 256 tracks. Right? So you just need more RAM, and you can have 1024 tracks. And so I think there's a little bit of the constraint can drive your creativity a little bit. So I don't think I'm a DAW expert. I think we use it like we used a tape machine, right?
Yeah.
And a board, and trying to keep things fresh and exciting without running. There's a point where you kind of can kill it, produce it to death, and you lose the nut of the song. I don't think we'd be guilty of that in any of our songs. They're probably on the rougher end of the spectrum than the overproduced end. I like where we are, I like where we're headed. It's been fun. I'm ready to execute the release strategy a little bit. Really, that's about video content, consistency. We have a plan. We think it's the right plan to kind of do a release schedule once every 60 days, do a single, and have a constant, TikTok is down now today, but have a constant presence on YouTube and Reels and TikTok eventually again, and drive that marketing machine a little bit.
So are you going to do the videos yourself, or you brought anybody that
we have some we brought in? We've done some on AI. We'll do interviews like this. We'll chop up, and we're rehearsals. We have decent video of us actual song creation. I think, I think Heath and I have a lot of road behind us, and maybe something to say, or to younger folks. I'm trying to think sometimes. When I was 20 or 15, what would I want to hear from some old guy?
Interestingly enough, Jeff's not afraid to contact anybody, and I won't say who, but recently he sent out some correspondence to I don't know, one of our musical heroes from college, and the guy responded, and we're hoping to maybe get him involved a little bit in production.
Awesome.
Exciting stuff, but just an example of Jeff kind of spreading his wings out there and planting seeds. I'm always in awe of kind of what he organizes on the marketing end. So it's an interesting journey we're on right now. It's motivating.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think it's real important to have like a vision for your music, and also to be dedicated to the craft. And like you guys have been dedicated, and you bring in the lessons learned. Like if they're in your video content, you tell the young folks like what you've gone through, where you are now. And I think a lot of kids today, they might be into this kind of one-hit wonder thing.
Yeah.
And to see somebody who's more that gone through the long haul, gives people some inspiration to see, like, maybe we don't just have to be crafting all effort into one song.
Yeah.
Some people seem today, it's just focused on that one song to hit that playlist.
Yeah.
There's no idea of the album. Like, I'm a child of the 70s. Like, albums are like what I'm into.
Yeah.
And maybe people aren't into that. Do you find, like, are you trying to focus this stuff in terms of an album or EP or singles?
Yeah, so I think it'll be single first that leads to either an EP or an album. So I think it may be single. So maybe you got 3 or 4 singles out there. Then maybe you add 2 or 3 more, and that's an EP. Or maybe you do singles for 6 or 7 months. Every month you're releasing a single, and then month 8, maybe you dump another 4 or 5 songs on there, and that becomes a CD or an album.
Yeah.
I think it's also a potential to have an album. The difficulty, we talk about money or whatever, right? Streaming, you can't make any money, right? Even the big stars, millions of streams, and you look, you're like, oh, they got $3,500 last week. I'm like, that doesn't pay. It doesn't pay for the new MacBook.
It doesn't pay for my guitar. Doesn't pay for my Vogue. Definitely.
But you can move once you begin to move an audience into a relationship. Well, then maybe they're streaming singles, but maybe they're purchasing a CD, right? And maybe that CD is a live version. Or we just taught, my wife is a PhD here at Furman University. She's going to speak in March in Memphis. And I'm like, God, what if Heath and I went with her and we recorded at Sun Studios? And you can still record at Sun Studios. It's like $1,000 a night. They do tours during the day, and then at 7 p.m. you can book a session. I'm like, that'd be cool. We could lay down, just sit, record with our little Casio, record 10 songs or 8 songs, and in 5 hours, and boom, that could be an EP, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a way to, you have to build a relationship with an audience. I think that's another thing that's an interesting aspect is you're a synth kind of person. We're maybe a little more guitar based or whatever, but there's an audience, right? If you're making interesting music, there's people that like it, and
Yeah,
you could be a country metal band, and there's an audience for that, right? Or you can be a rap, synth band. There's an audience for that. And there's kind of this, in the marketing world, you need about 1,000 super users per band member, super fans that will be into what you do, will stream it, will engage in it, maybe buy a t-shirt a year, maybe buy a couple CDs a year, maybe buy one vinyl a year. If you can get 1,000 people to spend $500, or even $300, that's a lot of money all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, you have micro.
You don't need 400,000 streams to kind of keep the thing going. You need to connect to people individually, one-on-one, and I think that's kind of the path that we'll take.
That's a micro level marketing, because I've seen a lot of bands like I'm into that maybe they got 50,000 fans, right? Very small indie band. Label would say, hell no, I'm not gonna, what am I gonna do with that? But they can they can tour in in Netherlands. They could go to Australia, they can find their audience wherever it is. They sell vinyl, they sell t-shirts, they sell USBs, they have newsletters to connect with their fans. They actually engage with their fans. They go and do a video where they're cooking something. They're making breakfast. They show people their life, and they get super fans to get in on that.
That's right.
Yeah, on subscriptions on Instagram or whatever. They set up a channel and
Patreon.
they have. You can do all these things where you can have a Patreon. You can actually survive at a smaller level because you don't have to have all that overhead from somebody giving you the advance.
That's right. Right, for sure. Yep. I support a guy on Patreon. I think it's only like $15 a month. He's a writer and he's a podcaster, and I like what he does. And he kind of made a pitch at the end of season 1. He's like, hey, I want to keep doing this, and I don't want to sell out. I don't want to have ads on here. If you like it, would you sign up? So I sign up, and I get a little advance. He sends out an email once a month of what he's working on or whatever. And, in fact, he wrote a book. I bought that book for my brother-in-law. It's I feel like I'm a super fan for that guy.
There you go.
And I'll never meet him probably, and whatever. It's still cool. I feel like I'm tied into his life a little bit, and so that's a bit of a model that we'll probably explore.
But as an artist, like you always you appreciate other people. They're your influences that get you into what you're doing. You mentioned REM, and one of the things I was going to ask about is inspiration behind like some of your songs. And one thing that like Catch Me When I Fall or Fine Red Wine. Can you talk about maybe inspiration for those two?
Yeah, he wrote both of those out of the gate. Why don't you talk about Catch Me When I Fall? Although it's a little unfair because we recorded Catch Me When I Fall, and then I mixed it all up.
Very imperfect, raw. We're actually going to do some re-recording on that today, I think, aren't we?
Yep.
Catch Me When I Fall, I wrote in a VA rehab in West Virginia and just sat on it for years. And then Jeff showed up in Port Royal with this portable recording studio, which is really interesting. It's another story for another time. And we just laid it down. But it's very much a work in progress. But that's the difference kind of between the songs I wrote, I write, and the songs Jeff kind of writes. Mine are really, to me, that's kind of a cookie cutter 4/4 verse chorus traditional type of song. But anyway, gonna refine it and work on it a little bit more. I kind of hate that Jeff put it out there a little bit, but
What? I think it's awesome.
Jeff will put anything out, and if it were up to me, I'd never put anything out. So it's a good marriage because stuff winds up getting out.
Fans,
I'm never ready.
Well, fans sometimes I really appreciate. Like I find sometimes like artists are the best judge of their own work because
That's true.
sometimes you can do something like it's so raw, you don't think it's ready, you don't think it's right, but then your fans get a hold of it and they're like, "That's the one." I actually
That's the one. That's right.
A recording engineer that recorded like "Tangled Up in Blue" for Dylan, right? And the version that didn't go out, the one that ended up on the bootleg series, has him like his buttons are hitting the mic, on his jacket. But the version of that song compared to the one that's on Blood on the Tracks, it's like it just feels to me as a fan. I think I like it better, even though the old one's pretty up. The raw nature of that one and the lyrics are a little different and the delivery is different. Some nuances. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, it feels raw. It feels like authentic. I'm like, wow, I like it better. I don't like all the overdubs on the real one. So sometimes like that, your fans give them a shot, like throw it at the wall because they might actually like it.
That's right. That's right. I was listening to a podcast about Bruce Springsteen. He's very similar to Tyler. He would record the demos at home and then bring it to the E Street Band, and he'd be like, if you guys can't beat the demo, we're releasing the demo. Right? And so that's like a challenge to the band, and you can hear on one of his recordings, he goes, "We're beating the demo." Like he's into it. We got it. We're in the groove.
Kind of like Nebraska is on a Tascam or a Fostex.
That's right.
They actually kept it on that. And there was something about that I really appreciate. I don't know, like back in the day, I was listening to like the Replacements and Who's to Do and IRS REM, and I like the fact that like there was lo-fi. Like sometimes it wasn't what when those bands jumped onto big labels. Like the stuff that was on the small labels, like SST or the smaller labels they were on. I was like, I like Bob Mould when he was on SST.
yeah, that's right. You get into the big studio with professional musicians and a click track, everything gets a little more sterile, I think.
It was like you said, the limitations. Like if you're playing something that's limited, like a Moog, like a mini Moog is only can do one note at a time.
Yeah.
Versus like a Prophet 5, it's polyphonic.
Yeah.
The mini Moog has limitations, and you might have to overdub it like Stevie Wonder to get it to do a chord. You would overdub it 3 times.
Really?
To get to the chord.
To get a chord. That's cool.
Yeah, to get a chord out of it. But the way he did that, it sounds different than if you played a Prophet.
That's right.
Or played a DX7 or something. It's like it sometimes the limitation causes you to play something differently in a way you would have never done it.
Yeah. I saw an interview with Johnny Ramone. They were asking about this, musician reporter guy's like, well, the solo in Sedated is only one note. Is that really a guitar solo? And he goes, if it's the right note, it is.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
That's how you say it. That's how it's like one time Lou Reed was recording something for his first solo album. He went in the studio and he's like, his car's out of tune. Right. And they're like telling him to change. He's like, nope. This is the way it's going. Yeah. That's the way it's going.
Yeah. So, I had another quote. I won't belabor you with quotes, but Mike Mills, the bassist for REM, they go in the studio. It's one of the earlier studio, and I think they're recording Rockville, first session, and they get done with it. And the producer, I think it was Don Dixon or Mitch Easter, one of them. And they're like, oh, it's great. And Mike Mills goes, no, it's sped up. It's sped up. And the producer goes, rock and roll speeds up. He's like, you need a click track. You need to play what's in your heart.
Yeah, well, the problem is the tools can become oppressive.
Yep.
Because if you get to the sound, it's very sterile, perfect. I love the happy accident.
Yeah.
I kind of like the ramshackle nature of like a band like Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
Tonight's Tonight or Time Fades Away. Listen to that ramshackle, like, because Neil can actually go back to Buffalo, Springfield, and Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. He can do it perfect when he wants to do it. But I like it when he goes imperfect.
Yeah.
There's something about it,
It's
that
a bit
feels
like modern art. So like if you've seen Picasso, he went through periods where he was doing very realistic stuff. And I think you have to get good, and then you can go into something a little more abstract. Like I saw an interview with the guys from Steely Dan on Asia, that record.
Oh yeah, that was
And he's like, we had to do it, and they get kind of knocked as being the perfect. They're perfectionists,
yeah, total perfection.
But he said we did it so often, we got beyond perfect. We got to perfect, and then we kept going, and it actually became a little looser and a little more. You're like the great jazz bands that can be off,
Fusion, yeah.
a half a step, or really in like a 16th of a step, but then on the next one they're all back in time, and it's I think you're right. And the replacements just like that, right? The
replacements are kind of ramshackle.
Kind of shifting. The Stones are like that a little bit too.
Yeah, there's something about that kind of like a punk aesthetic.
That's right.
Like,
yeah.
Even if you don't play punk, the punk aesthetic is that you got that Joe Strummer, Joy Division, Clash, Joey Ramone attitude. You go in and you just like it's because of the heart. Like you come in here and you're really like Grant Hart from Who's to Do. He's just got that heart behind the drum kit. It's like this wailing, singing, and it's like what is he doing? It's like, well, because he feels it.
Yeah.
Like, when you feel it, then the audience knows that you're authentic. Like you really feel it.
Yep. Totally agree.
So in terms of like you're talking about the video and your experience with the video, and that seems to be so critical today. But I also want to know about like song length, like compared to what you did in the Chillbumps in the song length today. Do you feel like you have to have a certain length in time of a song based on
this is an interesting topic.
Yes.
Go ahead, Heath.
Well, we have completely different philosophies on this. And Jeff, really, you'd be better explain. Jeff's good.
I'm a punk at heart.
Yeah.
And like
2 minutes.
2 minutes and 12 seconds. That's all you need. That's Break On Through by the Doors, 2 minutes and 13-second song. And that's all you need.
And to me, that's not even enough to get your appetite wet. I mean, I feel like the song needs to be more than, 3:30. So anyway, I hope Jeff's right, because it's a lot easier to write a song in 2 minutes.
Well, I don't know. There's that old adage, I didn't have a lot of time. I didn't have enough time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. Like there's a truth there that it's harder to put in 2 minutes. It's easy to put in 40 verses and 12 guitar solos. But when you have to edit down to, well, we only got 2 verses, and maybe there's not a solo, there's just a riff on top of some chorus. It better be good. Back to Joey Ramone. Better be the right note.
Why did you ask about song length time? Because I really never even thought about being a thing until Jeff. And then it's become an argument with us. So it's interesting that you brought this up.
Well, I bring it up because I'm a progressive. I grew up with progressive rock and like fusion jazz, right? And so these pieces, you go back to a Yes album or a Genesis album with like Peter Gabriel on it, and it's like taking a whole side.
That's right. You got two songs an album.
2 songs an album. So, but there's a talent to, and I love Funkadelic.
Pull it off.
If you look at like Funkadelic versus Earth, Wind and Fire, like Earth, Wind and Fire is a more refined version of a funk soul band. They actually have songs like September, like they're refined, they're brought down to like people can groove in it. Now I love Funkadelic. I probably would rather listen to Funkadelic or go see a Funkadelic show. Those songs are way longer, looser, all over the place. But the focus on an Earth, Wind and Fire track, it's brought down to a time that it can be a single. And that's why I was kind of making the conversation, because a lot of things today are kind of single focused because they're playlist focused, and you don't have the room to go do a Hotel California or do a Free Bird or do like a Bohemian Rhapsody. They're not giving you the time to do that. Everybody's saying there's no patience for it.
That's right. It's the TikTokification of the music industry.
Yeah.
Where you at one point you only had 15 seconds to bring people in, and now you have maybe 3 minutes or whatever. But it's definitely an impact on where we are. But I've always, even before TikTok, even before MTV, you know, back in the 70s, I'd rather listen to, you know, I probably would have gravitated towards the Ramones more so than Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, you know.
Yeah, that punk aesthetic. But yeah, something about, you know, I love listening to the Clash. You know, I go off on like early Clash records.
Sure, yeah.
Just the power of it. And
Yep.
and that's why I got into bands like Who's to Do and the Replacements, because like, oh, these guys are bringing that back. And Paul Westerberg, I was like, man, I love the way he approaches the craft, because it's like that idea, like you can tell the story. He's a really good songwriter, but you don't have to be, you know, so you know, the progressive movement and the new wave movement, they made all these things that are like layered, and you're talking about The Cure. Yeah, there's a place for that. I mean, I can have all that in my collection. I can listen to all of it.
Yeah.
But there's something about that punk aesthetic that really, you know, makes me feel, yeah, I feel in a moment. Like grunge. Grunge was like that too.
Well, and the other early hook in my career was rap. I really got into, you know, in fact, rap started long format, right, with Grandmaster Flash and even
early rap,
those are 8, 9,
rock and all that
12-minute songs. And the reality is they were 45 to an hour long songs in the streets of New York City. And then they got the studio and they had to shorten everything to, you know, 8, 12, 15 minutes. But then with Run DMC's first album, it was like, for me, it was like the Sex Pistols. It blew up the rap world. Songs are now 3 minutes. They're very hooky. There's a chorus. There's a couple verses. There was no long funk kind of musical interlude. Jam Master Jay, I think, is the Joey Ramone of the rap world, and that he brought in very tight hooks and real songs, and that changed music for me. You know, that was 83, 84, and got me into the Fat Boys and the Beastie Boys and Houdini and UTFO and all that stuff. And I went to see them all, right? And you know, I'm in Alabama. There's only a few white kids at the audience, but it was awesome. In fact, my wife and I went to the Rock and Roll Induction Hall of Fame, I think in 21, and I saw LL Cool J get inducted.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, God, I saw him in 84 in Columbus, Georgia. And here I get to see him get inducted, you know, whatever, 30, 40 years later in the Hall of Fame. You know, what an amazing thing. But we didn't know this until about this year, that Heath and I's first concert, unbeknownst to us.
We didn't know each other.
Yeah, we didn't know each other at the time.
Cities. Didn't know we were going to meet each other.
Was New Edition Houdini and the Fat Boys in Montgomery, Alabama. And I still have the ticket stub.
So we were talking one day. It's like, what was the first concert my mother ever let me go to?
Yep.
I was in 8th grade, and I love the Fat Boys, Human Beatbox. I mean, when I told Jeff, my first concert was the Fat Boys, and Jeff was like, "Well, mine was
Houdini." That was huge.
And then we thought about it for a second. It was the Fat Boys, Houdini, and New Edition.
Yep.
In Montgomery, Alabama, we were both at the same concert.
Both there, but you didn't know each other at the time.
Didn't know each other for 3 years later.
Yeah,
we met.
Wow,
30 years later, we realized we were both there.
The universe winked at us a little bit there, just kind of added fuel to the fire. Keep going.
Well, it's so cool to talk about that. I actually saw De La Soul at like Brown University.
Nice.
And
what year was that? Like 90, 91?
Yeah, it was really like it was the time of De La Soul is Dead. Is that album? They were touring that record. Okay, and I was totally enamored with that record. I was like, wow.
They were like the Miles Davis of rap, right?
Because they were doing
Master Day was the Joey Ramone, then the De La Soul was the Miles Davis.
And then it got me into Funkadelic, because I actually, listened. It's like, where'd that come from? And I actually found where some of the stuff came from. And I said, wow, it's like, I like the way the editing and the looping and the ability to take samples and make it like a newfound sound.
Yeah, it's really, really amazing. It's hard to do.
Yeah, it's a talent.
Make it sound cool.
But it's like DJs are really good at finding hooks. And some DJs have become producers because they know how to find hooks. And they know how to hook. And like, I think a DJ type of person was a producer for Amy Winehouse. He could actually had this ability to find hooks, and then he had such a great voice in what Amy could do.
Yeah, so digging through the crates.
Yeah, find a crate.
Finding that album that no one else has found before, and finding that one drum lick or bass lick to make, and re-energizing songs from 30, 40 years, 50 years ago that people maybe not heard really.
Well, I think that's the cool talent of like the the old school of the original rappers was they found out these resources. A lot
That's
of it
right,
was
yeah.
James Brown stuff, a lot of
Yep.
it like funkadelic,
Yep.
just a lot of soul songs that nobody kind of remembered.
That's right.
And they find these old hooks,
It's amazing, yeah.
and they're pulling from the Delphonics or something, pulling from.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's just something great about like just having a history for music. When you
Mhm.
guys are so cool in that you're very eclectic in terms of your taste, and I really, that to me is a really positive thing, because I get drawn into bands. It's like I want to know where I like to be surprised.
Yeah,
I like
that's
to
good.
know that they've got like they're not just in one area. And there's some bands cool, that's where they are, then I know that's who they are. But when
Mhm.
somebody shows that they've got like different influences, to
Mhm.
me that's always
Mhm.
cool.
And they can push the band. It's almost like food too. There's a fusion part of food that's when cultures mix a little bit, there's something interesting that wasn't there before until it's there, and you're like, it should have always been there, right? Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
should have
We
been there. Like Run
genre mix,
DMC and Aerosmith. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
But it
rock
was
and
kind of,
rap should have always been together, right? Like, why did that take 10 or 15 years to really pull together?
yeah, it's this idea like Hendrixian blues is this and cosmic psychedelic. Like you
Mhm.
have this like
Mhm.
blues, like it's like so you got Stevie Ray Vaughan does Voodoo Child, and then the
Right.
original is like Hendrix's, right? Both of them live in this. I love both of them because
Right. Right.
Stevie Ray Vaughan had this Texas blues version of it. It's
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
really it's coming from from the King, from Albert King. It's like an Albert
Mhm.
King version of it versus
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where Hendrix is in this cosmic thing. It's like, what the hell? How did he come up with that? And it's like, but both of them can live together. But it's cool
Yeah.
when you can think about like you can go different ways with the same song.
Public Enemy and Anthrax, Channel Zero.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the
Get up, stand up.
Bomb Squad is unbelievable. The
Yeah.
idea of like taking noise and tape loops and all kinds of
Mhm.
like, the layers that they were able to come up with, that
Yeah.
was super impressive to me.
Yeah.
That's why I got one of my first samplers just because I heard that album,
Yeah.
Nation of Millions. I was like,
Great Place Nation of Millions.
what can you do with this thing?
I saw them open up for Run DMC.
Oh yeah,
Back in 87, maybe 86. That was pretty awesome.
Bomb Squad. I just like the people. That's really awesome production work,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
the lyrics and stuff and the vocal delivery.
Yeah.
It's just cool to see how you can merge things, because they
Yep.
had like a punk aesthetic. It's rock.
Oh
It's
yeah, for
jazz.
sure.
They were like genre bending, like you're saying. They take from everywhere.
Yep.
And
Even
then
Flavor Flav kind of gets knocked, man. He was a key component to that whole layered vocal delivery. It was amazing.
it's like a Run DMC kind of handing off. It's
Yep.
coming from that kind of place, and then throws in all that layered production.
Yeah, I saw Tuck D's like, we were doing the same thing Run DMC. We were just 40% faster.
Yeah,
right?
more punk.
Like,
If there's more
yep.
punk, I mean, you saw it in the crowd. There's a lot of
That's
kids
right.
from the suburbs, and it's like, why do they like this? Because it's kind of like the Clash, kind of like Husker Du, kind of like Replace.
Right.
It's got this kind of anti-hero.
That's right. I think if I could just describe one word that would be our aesthetic goal would be authentic. And that everybody we've talked about today, from the Doors to Stevie Ray Vaughan to Chuck D, those guys are all authentic in their prime. And I think that's really, we that's what we aspire to, I think. It's like who we are, what do we have to say? We're not trying to make music to make music. We're trying to make music that we like. That's the end of the day.
I think that's the best thing to do, because when you did this, you go into the comparison trap.
Yeah.
Like if there's already somebody out there doing this, right?
Yeah.
Well,
why you want to make another copy?
Why you make another copy? I mean, you're going to be like, here's the Beatles, here's the Monkees. Like, well, I'm probably gonna listen to Sergeant Pepper's. Yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Well, the Monkees wrote some catchy tunes. They did.
they're cool, but they're a different band. But
Yeah.
then you have people that just want to be Fab Four, and this
That's right.
clone.
Like Oasis. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's the one to name. Yeah, it's like you just want to be them, but you're not John.
Yeah.
You're not Paul.
Yeah.
It's like you can't do it. Like, well, maybe you think you can. Maybe you sold it that way. But
Yeah. Well, I just think you're better trying to be an authentic version of yourself. I mean, that's the life lesson, and not just in music, but as a worker, as a parent, as a friend. There's a adherence to who you are and what your role in the universe is. And I think as we're growing towards that, we're more helpful to others the closer we can become to our true authentic self, I think.
what are your fans like in terms of your feedback? Do you get feedback loops? Like, I talk to authors and they have these beta readers. Do you
Yeah,
get
it's been
feedback?
reasonably positive. We're always a little scared. I mean, Heath, like he said, he's like, I don't think I'd release. It's not ready. It's
Not ready.
Not ready. I'm
Not
like,
ready.
I don't know. We should send it out. We should see. All in all, I think it's positive.
There's about to be a more of an influx of the last 8 months. Jeff's about convinced me, okay, just let's start letting it go on a kind of regular schedule. So 8 months into this again, and let the floodgates open. We'll just see what happens. Let the chips lie where they may.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good strategy. Can you throw it at the wall? Because you never know. Because I've talked to like people, and it's like if you have it, if it's a songwriter's choice, sometimes is to pick the song, right?
Yeah.
And the song that they would have picked, I was watching a documentary about the Eagles, and like they were talking about how there were some songs that they wanted to push, and they didn't push them in the songs that they didn't think were going to work.
Yeah.
Were the ones that worked.
Yeah.
Yep.
It seems to be the way. I think Elton John was talking about it. Like you talk to these famous, Billy Joel was talking about it. Like I love to watch documentaries with all these famous guys, and they always kind of end up coming down common denominator. Sometimes they don't know which song
Yep.
is the
It's
right
always good to
song.
get feedback from elsewhere. I mean, it's enlightening really to find out, because it's exactly like what you said. If it were up to me, I find I pick the wrong ones, and the ones that I wouldn't pick, people like the most. So I'm just gonna let Jeff, take it out there, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. It's always that's why it's always hard. Sometimes you hold on to your best stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're not confident about it. It's like you got something, but it's like it's a diamond in the rough. Sometimes it's like or it might be too close to you.
Yeah.
I think if you're too close to something, you can't see it.
That's right.
And that's why you got to let it out there, because like you're not the best judge of it.
Yep. Cool.
So is there anything you want to tell your audience about what you're going to be doing, or things that are coming up that they should be aware of?
I think that we'll be at Hecojeni .com, HECONG. No, how do you spell HECOJENI. .com. So we got a website. We'll release everything through there first. People can reach out to us. It's easy to find us. We're here, and we'd love to have like an open dialogue. We had another podcast group we talked to that's really kind of musician forward or music nerd kind of people, and open it to like almost collab, right? Like you want to put a verse on here, you want to put a guitar solo on here,
open source music.
So we'll be open to that too.
We'll include it in the music.
That'd be cool.
Never seen it done before. I think it's kind of a cool idea.
That's a cool idea. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I say I do have your SoundCloud here, and I do have your website there, and those will be fully clickable in the podcast description, because the way it works is like on the Facebook, the YouTube, and the Twitch channels we're on, and any channel that we put out, even on the Apple, iHeart, Amazon, Spotify, in that description, any link I put out there becomes clickable.
Cool. That's great.
Not clickable now, but in the actual description, when somebody goes to look at this again and play it again, that's where it will be.
Great.
And we do create, we're sad to see TikToks now out there because we usually send a clip of the show to TikTok when it comes back up. We use in its place, like we've been using YouTube Shorts, we use Facebook Reels, we use Instagram Stories. If you're on Instagram, we will create a story and we will tag you with it.
Yep.
And we put the link to the landing page so then people can see the story, get a clip of the podcast, maybe 15, 30 seconds, and then click on the link and get the full podcast. And that will be out there in the world shortly, sometime today. It will be fully published today.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you. It's always good to talk to somebody that loves music.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you. Well, you guys are awesome. You're working today, I heard. I know you're working on some music. I'll be working on some stuff later too.
Awesome. All right, man. Sounds great.
Hey, bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.